morning, all my BES friends. It's Miss Reeves coming live to you from the kitchen table this morning. We're going to practice addition and subtraction. So this morning I went around my house and I went on a math search looking for anything that we could use to add and subtract, which is anything that you can count if you watched Miss Davis's lesson. So this is what I found. I found Nerf bullets. I found a jar of seashells. I found a jar of pennies. I had some printed off tens frames, which your child is very familiar with. You don't have to print these off. You can just draw one on a piece of paper. They're great for adding and for counting. I found some pipe cleaners, macaroni noodles. I found a little container of beads. I found some dice in a game that we had at home. And I just took them and put them in one of these clear little Ziploc containers, because I'll show you something you can do with those in a minute. I found some marshmallows, Legos, and my children had theirs color-coded. I was so proud. I found a box of Phase 10 cards and a deck of Minnie Mouse cards that Cadence had, some plain playing cards. I found a blink game that one of the kids had. I found a box of dominoes. Dominoes are great for adding and subtracting. I found a bag of holiday M&Ms left in my pantry. So those are two colors. Two-colored counting is great for adding and subtracting. And I also found some regular M&Ms that are all colors, which is great for adding more than two numbers. So I'm going to go over some things that you can do at home that'll be fun for you and your children to make games and practice adding and subtracting. On the front of my table, I made some anchor charts. We use those at school just to help us remember things and keep things fresh on our mind. You might want to make some anchor charts at your house and hang them on the refrigerator or in your child's room, just to give them some ideas and to remind them about what adding and subtracting is. Some of the main focus points for adding and subtracting is to remember that when we're adding, we're making things bigger, and that we use a plus sign. In addition and subtraction, it's important for our children to understand that that equal sign has a meaning, and it means that it is the same amount as. It's not just a sign we put before an answer, but it has a meaning. It means the same as. Focus on that with your child. It's important for them to understand that. When we are subtracting, we are taking apart or taking away. We're making numbers smaller. In my classroom, when we talk about adding and subtracting, my kids give me hand signals. Like if I say, we're adding, so what does that mean? My kids will say, we're making numbers bigger, and they'll show me that they understand that. And using things like that will help trigger their memory and give meaning to what you're talking about. When you're subtracting, you're making numbers smaller by taking away or taking those numbers apart. So let's talk about some things that you can do. One of the games that I have listed on my game chart up there is spill and add. So if you're going to spill and add, you could get a little cup. This is just a little Tupperware cup that I have in my pantry, and you could put some things in there. I'm just going to use my M&Ms. I'm just going to pour out a few M&Ms, and it's important that you know how many you're putting in the cup. If you're, I would say start with 10. It's important for children to be able to add and subtract fluently within 10. But by the time they leave first grade, so that's great for kindergarten and first grade to practice. That's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So then your child can shake their M&Ms and spill them out. And let's see, I can add my green ones and my red ones. I have 5 green and 5 red. So I know that 5 plus 5 makes 10. I could also use anything else. I could just grab some beads and spill those. Or pennies. Pennies are great because they're either going to land on heads or tails, and there's no way to know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You're going to get a different answer most every time. So you could separate your pennies, the ones that are on heads and the ones that are on tails. And I have 6 pennies on tails and 4 pennies on heads, so I know that 6 plus 4 is a way to make 10. Then I can put them back in there, shake them again, and hopefully I'll get something different, like 7 and 3 or 8 and 2. That's a great way to practice making 10. You could also do any number up to 10, or even numbers beyond 10 all the way to 20 would be great for first graders to practice. You could count seashells, separate and sort seashells, and then add. I have 7 gray seashells and 6 yellow seashells. So altogether, I have 7 plus 6 is 13. 7 plus 6 is the same amount as 13, so that you could do that. Some games that you could also do that we like to play at my house is a game called Roll and Add, or you can roll and subtract. And when you roll and add, you want to get something that you have a lot of. Like, I'm just going to use this jar of seashells, and you would play it with everybody in your family, or 2 or 3, or maybe just the kids at your house might want to play. And each person would get 1 dice. If you don't have dice, there are lots of apps on your phone that you could download dice, and you just hit roll, and it will roll the number. So, like, I would roll, and I rolled a 5, so I would get 5 seashells. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to put those in front of me, and then the next person would roll, and they would get seashells. And you just keep taking turns rolling, and the first person who gets to 20 is the winner. Or you could start with 20 and roll to subtract and take away, and the first person to get to 0 wins. So that's a good game for adding and subtracting also within 20. Adding dominoes is fun. If I pick up a domino, I just draw one out of the box. I drew one that has 7 and 4, so I could count that up all together. 7 plus 4 is 11. I like to teach my children to count on, to say the big number, 7, and then count the additional dots, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's a faster way to add than counting all of the dots together. So teach your children that in practice, saying the big number and counting on to add the lower number. That was the reason Miss Davis said in her video that counting on is an important skill. It helps us to add more quickly. You could also subtract. I could do 7 minus 4. And in my mind, I can see that I have 7 up here, and I can see how the 4 dots look down here. And take those dots away in my mind and see that I have 3 left. So that's another way that you could practice adding and subtracting. Another card game that I have at my house is Blink. I like this one because the cards do not have the numbers printed on them. I don't know if you can see those really well, but they don't have the numbers printed on them. They just have the pictures. So a fun thing for you to do would be to pick up 2 cards, hold them up for 3 seconds, 1, 2, 3, put them down, and ask your child if they can tell you how many pictures there were all together. If they can see those pictures in their mind and count them, that's called subitizing, and that's an important addition skill for children to do. And I held up 2 and 3, so if your child can say, I saw 2 over here and 3 over here, and 2 and 3 makes 5, then they are able to subitize, and they're practicing addition. So that's a fun game that you can do. Another game that you could play would be to add cards. These cards that Cadence have do not have the number of pictures on them. They just have the number. So I pulled out 6 plus 6. So you could use anything that you have to add. If your kid has Legos, get out your Legos. Get 6 blue Legos and 6 yellow Legos. 6 plus 6 is, let them count that, it's 12. So that's another game that you can do. If you have regular playing cards, they already have the pictures on there. So they don't have to build the number. They can simply just add the numbers together. They could draw 2 cards, 3 and 5, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's a way to add, okay? Another game you could play would be to race to 20. Just like you did with the dots, you could race to 20 with your cards. I have 3 and 5, that's 8. When I draw another card, that would be 7. 8 and 7 is 15, so I'm getting close to 20. Let your children go around and take turns drawing 1 card at a time, and the first person to get to 20 is the winner. There's another addition game you could play. A game that I thought of that you could play with phase 10 would be to turn the phases into different things to go along with addition. Instead of following the phase card, you could make different phases, like have 3 cards that make a sum of 12 for one of your phases. The next phase could be find 2 doubles facts, like 3 plus 3 and 6 plus 6. And so that would be another way, just a fun game that you could make up, and you could even play that with regular cards and make different phases of things that you could do to practice adding and subtracting. Anything that you can do to add, you can also do to subtract. You just turn it around and take away. A game that I thought of, if your children at your house have Nerf guns, you could give them a certain number of Nerf bullets. I gave you 15 bullets. How many did you shoot at your sister? I shot 3 at my sister. Well, so how many bullets do you have left? 15 minus 3 is what? And see if they can give you the difference. And subtract. Fun way to practice subtracting. Eat to subtract is something I have. So at snack time, everybody eats a snack at your house probably every day. So you open up your bag of Cheez-Its or chips or whatever and count how many you have. And then as you eat them, subtract until you get to 0. And so that's a fun way to subtract at your house. Something else that I have is a number bond. A number bond is something that we use in first grade a lot. When we use number bonds, we are talking about the relationship between addition and subtraction, that they actually work together. They're opposites, and you can use the same 3 numbers in a number bond to add and subtract. So one of the ways that you can practice a number bond would be to use your dot cubes. And your child can put them in a cup or in their hand or whatever and roll them. And I rolled 2 of the same number. I don't want 2 of the same number in my number bond. Okay, so I rolled a 1 and a 4. And I hung a number bond right here. I'm not sure that you can see it, so I'll take it off. A number bond has 3 boxes. It has 2 smaller boxes and a large box. And I just drew this off this morning on a piece of paper. And then I made 4 equation lines, 2 addition lines, and 2 subtraction lines. And I can put my numbers in my number bond. And then I can build equations. So my add-ins that I rolled on my dots were 1 and 4. So I would fill those in on my number bond. Like that. They go in the smaller boxes because we're going to put those 2 numbers together to make a bigger number. 1 and 4 is 5. So your sum, or how many you have all together, goes in your bigger box. Like this. Then your child can make different equations, like 1 plus 4 equals 5. And they could write that one in there. 1 plus 4 equals 5. And if 1 plus 4 equals 5, then we also know that 4 plus 1 equals 5. And they can fill that in. Just like that. And then they can see that if they have 5 and they take away the 4, then 1 is left. So they can make a subtraction equation. 5 minus 4 equals 1. Like that. And then they can also see if you start with 5 and you take away 1, that you would be left with 4. So they can make another equation. 5 minus 1 equals 4. So you can just draw those off and practice those at home. And that's a good way to build their understanding of the relationship between addition and subtraction. A fun way that we all know that we did when we were kids is to make flashcards. If I were making flashcards at my house, I would start with all the plus 1 facts. So I would make 1 plus 0, 1 plus 1, 1 plus 2, 1 plus 3, 1 plus 4, so on and so forth, all the way to 1 plus 10 equals 11, or 1 plus 9 equals 10. You could stop at 10. You could go all the way to 20. Make as many as you want to. Practice those for a day or 2 with your child, and then make the 2 cards. 2 plus 0, 2 plus 1, 2 plus 2, all the way to 20. And keep going. and let them practice those for a few days. When they get fast and they know those quickly without having to count every time, move on and make the threes. Keep going until they know them all the way to 20. Let me look at my card here. I made myself lots of reminders. And don't forget about YouTube. Lots of things on YouTube. Jack Hartman is one of our favorites in my room that we listen to, and we practice addition and subtraction. He also has videos with sight words and lots of other skills that we do at school. He has lots of counting videos. So good number sense, all that, subatizing. He has subatizing videos. Those are all great to help build addition and subtraction skills. The doubles wrap in first grade, we teach the doubles wrap. It teaches all the doubles facts, and our kids love to wrap those doubles facts and commit those to memory. Schoolhouse Rock is still out there. We all love Schoolhouse Rock when we were growing up, and our children love Schoolhouse Rock too. Starfall.com is a great website if you have access to that. I know that we are all trying to send out codes for our children to have access to all of the Starfall.com games and things that are there, but a lot of the addition and subtraction games are there already that you don't have to have a code for, that they can play. I hope that this was helpful for you, and I hope that you're practicing addition and subtraction. Everybody stay safe, keep your hands washed, stay at home. We love you, and I hope we see you soon.